Hi, welcome back. It feels like it has been months since I last recorded a Halloween Horror Nights house announcement video, and with only 7 weeks left to go until the event starts and 5 houses left to be announced, we have all been waiting super impatiently for our 6th house announcement. But this one was for sure worth the long wait, and this is something that has been rumoured for years, talked about on different forums, and was kind of like a bucket list house for many long-time Halloween Horror Nights fans, but at the same time something that I personally anyway didn't think that we'd ever see at the event. I know that we've talked about it on the podcast for the last few years, and as the rumours have been kind of heating up over the last few months, we've been talking about it quite a lot on the podcast. I think I mentioned it in a video maybe a few months ago about how rumours were starting to pick up and I was unsure about whether or not we'd actually see it, but those rumours were confirmed yesterday. We are finally going to see a Ghostbusters house at Halloween Horror Nights 29. I love Ghostbusters and I didn't want to get my hopes up about it coming to Halloween Horror Nights because I kept seeing it kind of floating around on the internet over the last few months, and then the announcement was taken a really long time and I was like, has something happened? Are we not going to get it? Are we going to get it? And now we can all breathe a sigh of relief. This is not actually the first time that Ghostbusters will be appearing at Halloween Horror Nights. We have seen them numerous times before, but this will be the first time that they have in their own house. We did also have the Ghostbusters represented in park in the daytime for many years in their own show, Ghostbusters Spooktacular, and that ran from 1990 until 1996 when it was replaced by Twister Ride It Out. So I'm really hoping that we're gonna see props and maybe some sets that were used in that show in this house. I think that would be really cool and really nostalgic for me anyway, because early 90s Universal was such a big part of my life when I was growing up. I think it would just be really fun to see those things in the house. So I've been thinking about some things that I'd really like to see from this house. So I'd really love to see the New York Public Library and fire station facades in park utilised in some way. Now the rumoured location for this house is the very first house that you come to when you enter the park. So I don't know if either of those would be able to be utilised for the house, but it's wishful thinking on my part. I'd also really love to see huge New York street sets that we can walk through. I really want to see Terror Dog puppets. I'm absolutely dying to see how they'll do those. I want to see a huge Stay Puft Marshmallow Mine, and I'm really excited about the thought of being immersed in the Temple of Gozer. So that set is something that was utilised in the Ghostbusters show back in the 90s, and I'm really kind of hoping that they held on to some of that set at least so that we can see that in the house. There's been quite a lot of talk on fan sites about whether IPs like Ghostbusters and like Stranger Things should be at Halloween Horror Nights, and that's something that I really wanted to touch on in this video, and I'd really love it if you guys would get involved in the comments and give me kind of your take on it, because it does seem to be quite divisive on things like fan pages and Facebook and Twitter. So some people are of the belief that things like Ghostbusters and Stranger Things are too tame for an event like Halloween Horror Nights, and are maybe worried that the event's being toned down in order to cater for younger families or make it a more family-friendly event. And I don't think that I'm in that camp. I don't necessarily think that the event's being toned down. I did see a message that John Murdy over in Hollywood had posted, because we are sharing this IP this year with Hollywood, and he had said that, you know, they've done all of the main slasher films and they've done them 5 times, and how many more times can they do it, and it's time to do something a little bit different. And I 100% agree. Don't get me wrong, I don't believe that Ghostbusters is going to be the next Scarecrow the Reaping. It's obviously not going to be that scary, but I do think that it will be scary enough to be at the event. I also believe that we have so far anyway, a very good mixture of different kinds of horror and Halloween themed houses, and everyone isn't going to be right for everybody. I don't believe that every house needs to be the scariest house that you've ever been through. I think last year we had Stranger Things, and that opened the event up to a crowd of people that maybe would never have came to the event before, and now they're going to return this year, and then they may return the year after, and that's only good for the event. And then we can go after bigger IPs, and we can make the event bigger and better, and we can add houses, and we can build new sound stages. And as the event gets bigger year on year on year, we know that the event's going to stick around. It's not going anywhere. This obviously is a lighter, softer horror sci-fi house, and I'm just going to appreciate it for what it is. I love the Ghostbusters films. I'd love to be immersed in the sets from that films, and I'm super excited about this house. We'll get our super scary horror from things like the Yeti, from things like the rumoured House of a Thousand Corpses house, if we get it obviously, from things like Depths of Fear. And I don't know if you guys have seen the latest season of Stranger Things, but I truly believe that that house is going to be terrifying. I'm interested to know what you guys think of that situation. Do you think that it's being toned down? Are you happy with how it is? I did actually do a poll on Instagram a couple of days ago asking this question, and I think it was about 78% of people said that they don't believe that it's being toned down to cater for families. So let me know. So I asked you guys over on Twitter and Instagram to post some questions that we could discuss in this video. If we're not already friends on Twitter or Instagram, by the way, this is my username along the bottom. So Crawling Nightmares on Instagram asked, do you think there will be any Ghostbusters themed drinks or snacks this year? I freaking hope so. I would love to see a Slimer green, maybe slushy cocktail or non-alcoholic slushy. I think that'd be really cool. I'd love to see maybe some ectoplasm themed drinks. I'd like to see Twinkies, maybe Twinkies on sticks or giant Twinkies. I think for sure. I love themed everything. I just had a Stranger Things themed viewing party for season 3 where I made Will's Den, I made Stranger Things themed cookies, drinks. I love a good theme. I would also really love to have Stranger Things themed snacks at Halloween Horror Nights this year. Maybe a Scoops Ahoy ice cream stand or Lexi's Slurpees. The possibility for themed snacks is endless this year. K Beauty Queen K, again on Instagram, asked, is Scare Actor Dining worth it? I personally haven't done Scare Actor Dining only because I haven't really had the time to do it since it's been a thing, and I'm quite picky with foods because I don't eat meat, and it tends to be that maybe I wouldn't get a lot out of it food wise, and I know that it's mostly about the experience, but that's just where the time thing kind of comes into it for me personally. I know lots of my friends have done Scare Actor Dining and they really love it, and they've done it year on year. I would definitely like to do it, and it may be something that I consider doing this year. If you go on YouTube and look at people's vlogs from Scare Actor Dining, it always looks super fun. I know one of my friends, Kyle from View from the Cheap Seats, has been for the last few years, and I love watching his vlogs because the interactions are always really cool. I definitely think that it's worth trying it at least one time. Postmodern Bailey on Instagram asked, what scenes are you hoping to see from Stranger Things 3? Billy. Billy in the pool. Billy when there's 2 Billys. Billy in the sauna. No, I'm just kidding, slightly. I do want to see those things, but I'm super hoping that we can see Steve. Steve at Scoops Ahoy, Steve when he's drugged up in the toilet, Steve when he's getting beat up by the Russians, and other things. So I'd really like to see how they're gonna do the Mind Flayer, because obviously if you haven't seen season 3 yet, please turn this video off now because I'm gonna spoil it by talking about Stranger Things 3. But I want to see how they're going to do this when it's made entirely from flesh. I think it's going to be disgusting. I'm so excited about it. I really hope that we get to see the mall scene where the kind of tentacly arm things are kind of stretching through the gap. and the kids are hiding behind the counter. I think that could be done really well with puppeteering. It'd be really cool to walk through the hospital scene with Nancy and Jonathan fighting the flyer, and obviously we need to see Dustin and Susie singing the Never Ending Story. Chris BL1306 on Instagram asked, out of all of the rumoured houses this year, what are you most excited about? So out of the ones that haven't been announced yet that are rumoured, I'm super hoping that we do actually get a House of a Thousand Corpses house. It's one of my all-time favourite films. I've always wanted to experience that film as a house. It's always been on my kind of Halloween Horror Nights bucket list, so that for sure. And obviously Killer Clowns from Outer Space, because I freaking love that film, and I loved The Scare Zone last year. Muggleborn Wizard on Instagram asked, do you think that Ghostbusters will be similar to any Halloween Horror Nights house that you've been to previously? I'm gonna say no. I think if anything, I would maybe, in my imagination anyway, compare it to Stranger Things from last year, I guess, where I'm going into it knowing that it's probably not going to be the scariest house that I'm going to go into that night, but I know that I'm going to have an awful lot of fun, and I'm going to super enjoy seeing things from that property brought to life in front of me. I don't think I could really compare it to anything that we've had at the event before. It's kind of its own monster. El Jitzo, I am so sorry if I butcher these names, I'm terrible at pronouncing things, on Instagram asks, do you think they'll save Gremlins for next year? I would absolutely love a Gremlins house. I think, again, maybe not everybody would agree with that, in the same way that people have disagreed a little bit with Ghostbusters this year, that it maybe doesn't deserve a place at Halloween Horror Nights. I believe that it does. I think it'd be a really cool house to experience, and I would very much like it if they were saving it for next year. I don't think it's something that we're going to see at this year's event for sure, but next year, who knows? Spencer Fidelis said, talk about the original Ghostbusters attraction. Already did. I got you. I already talked about it. If you want to talk about it more with me, feel free to talk to me in the comments or talk to me on Instagram messages, because I'm always down for talking about past Universal attractions. Moving it over to Twitter, Ashton asked, how lit are we going to get to the theme song? And the answer is very. Remember Journey, Don't Stop Believing in the Ash vs Evil deadline? Times out by 10. That's how lit we're going to get to it. Todd at Siggins asked, in your opinion, do you think this will bring even more crowds to Halloween Horror Nights who aren't normally fans like Stranger Things? My guess is yes, so I'm glad that I already have my express passes. I agree. I do definitely think that will bring more crowds and that maybe would not have come to the event in the past in the same way that Stranger Things did. And I did touch on it briefly earlier that I think that only means good things for the event. Craig Wilcox asks, what is the best time to use your express passes? Do you wait until a specific time in the evening, or do you wait until the queue reaches a specific wait time? So a lot of the time I'll do Stay and Scream. I do that almost every night that I'm at the event, and an awful lot of the time when I'm going through to get into line from the Stay and Scream holding area, I see people getting into the express pass lines when there's maybe 10 people in the standby line, and I think that's a waste of money, and I feel like that express pass is better utilised later on in the night so that you can do the house twice, maybe even 3 or 4 times. So I would say wait until the queues are at a stage where you feel like you maybe wouldn't want to wait that long and you're actually going to benefit from the use of the express pass. So being later in the night will obviously be a part of that. I'd say hang fire, do Stay and Scream, or just get into the park early, do as many houses as you can, and then maybe once the queues start getting up to like 30-40 minutes, then start using the express pass. Jason asks, do you plan which houses you want to do first, or do you start at the front of the park and work your way around? I never start at the front of the park personally, so I, like I said earlier, tend to do Stay and Scream areas, and my preferred Stay and Scream area is the Springfield area, which lets you out into the tent houses. So if you went last year, that's houses like Slaughter Cinema and Blumhouse. So I tend to hit those two first. Sometimes if it's maybe my first night going to the event for that year, I'll go in knowing that I for sure want to get a certain house done. So last year, for example, it was Poltergeist and Stranger Things. I knew that they'd both be pretty big wait times. So I still did stay and scream in the Simpsons area. I got Slaughter Cinema and Blumhouse done, and then I was able to head down to the front of the park to do Stranger Things and Poltergeist around the time or just before that Halloween Horror Nights evening guests were about to be let into the park. So that's something that works well for me. I think if you have a plan, it's a lot easier to get things done, but it's going to be entirely based on what you want, because everyone's going to favour different houses and want to get different ones done first. Anna TV asks, what type of passes do you prefer for the event? I'm definitely going to renew my annual pass and thinking of going with the Russia Fear Pass, but need more opinions on a budget. So the Russia Fear Pass is definitely a great ticket option, because this year it allows you to go to the event for every night of September, and I think it's around $109. I'll put the right price along the bottom. So I think it's definitely a great ticket to buy if you're only planning on going in the September dates. Another great option is the Frequent Fear Pass, which lets you into the event every night that it's on except Fridays and Saturdays, but the first weekend of the event is included. The Frequent Fear Plus is the same kind of thing, but the only night that's excluded in that one is Saturdays, but again, the first weekend is included and the last weekend is also included of the event. So that's the pass that I'm personally getting this year. Then of course there's the Ultimate Frequent Fear Pass, which lets you in every single night that the event is on. It's a little bit expensive, but in my opinion worth it, because if you go to an event like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party, for example, you're paying around $100 every night of the event that you go, whereas with these tickets I pay about £110, £113, and I went 10 or 11 nights last year, so I definitely think that they're amazing value for money. I think we get an excellent deal. I still have a whole bunch of questions from you guys to get through, but I'm very conscious of this video is becoming very long because I am a talker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save those questions for the next video and I'll work through them on that one, because I definitely want to get to all of them. But thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you haven't already, go back and watch the previous house announcement videos. I also have playlists of vlogs from previous years at Halloween Horror Nights, so make sure you go and check those out to get yourself in the Halloween Horror Nights mood. Let me know what you think of the event so far in the comments down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!